So let's begin with the one shot revision, right? And this is for your molecular biology. Unit number 1, that is biochemistry, and unit number 2, that is your cell biology, is already covered, right? And now we have the third segment of the same, which is your molecular biology, or the entire fundamental processes, right? Now, in the fundamental processes, we have something called as the central dogma, right? My entire molecular biology revolves around the central dogma of biology. What is the central dogma? So it is your DNA getting transcribed into an RNA, and RNA getting translated into a protein, right? Repeating it, DNA getting transcribed. So DNA gets converted, or it gets copied onto the RNA with the help of transcription, right? And RNA gets dictated for the cell to actually get the information, or for the cell to like actually get the, what do we say, order to perform any work, with the help of translation, because our cell cannot get, or it cannot work without a proper order to it, and it can understand only and only it can understand only the language of a protein, right? And hence the proteins need to be made. So from RNA, my protein is translated, my RNA is translated in such a way that the cell can understand that language and complete the work, right? So this is the basics of molecular biology. Now, if I talk about which are the most important high yielding subtopics that we have, right? So first is the Okazaki fragments and the lagging strand synthesis, right? It is repeated more than 3 times if you look into the past 5-year analysis, right? Then if I talk about the function of the sigma factor, and if you have seen the previous year questions, you yourself know that even this particular topic has been repeated a number of times, right? Followed by this, we have the next function, the next segment of lac operon, the entire operon concept, starting from your lac operon, then your trip operon, then your ARA operon. All of these are very, very important. Then we have the DNA polymerase proofreading and the exonuclease activity. Then we have NBR versus BER distinction. What do you mean by NBR and BER? Right, it is your nucleotide base excision and nucleotide excision repair and base excision repair, right? That is your DNA repair mechanism. So questions have been asked from here as well. Then we have REC-A mediated recombination steps. Then we have the tRNA charging. Then we have wobble hypothesis and the third codon flexibility. Very, very important. Sanger sequencing principle. So this can be an overlapping topic in your unit number 12, 13, and over here. Then PCR temperature cycle, again, it's in your unit number 13 itself. Then if I look into the overall analysis, right, you can read it afterwards. Main segment is from my molecular biology specifically. Questions in the format of experimentation have been asked a number of times. Diagrammatic questions have been asked a lot of times, right? Diagram based, and then normal statement factual based questions as well. If you look into the recent papers, recent segments, there was one question, like I think it was June 2025, when three questions specifically from the DNA replication were there, or like from the molecular biology, 3 simple questions were there, out of which 2 were specifically from your DNA replication only. So understanding the importance of all of this is very, very important. If you look into the type of questions being there, let's say from your DNA replication itself, one question, both of the questions were on the basis of which enzyme is getting utilized at which particular step. So one question was in which they gave you the entire DNA replication, and they marked down the various like pointers, that okay, point 1, point 2, point 3, and they asked you that at this particular step which particular enzyme would be used. And there was another question that was asked in the examination. This was a part C question, and in the part B segment they asked you directly about that how does your what do we call supercoiling gets removed, or it was related to the helicase enzyme functionality. So point is, based upon the functionality of the enzyme, we have got a lot of questions, right? So you have to remember not just the replication but transcription, translation, all these things are very, very important, right? Now we'll revise all the high yielding points. We'll start with the DNA replication only. Now, DNA replication, you know, it is semi-conservative in nature. Semi-conservative means, let's say that you have this as your parental DNA. In the next generation, you'll have half of these, half of the parental generation only, and half of it will be completely newly synthesized, right? Then the unit of replication is your replicon, that is governed by the single ORI, that is the unit, the segment where my replication will be there, that is governed by ROI, which is your origin of replication part, right? Then prokaryotic chromosomes typically have only one ORI, right? When we look into the chromosomes of prokaryotes and eukaryotes, in the prokaryotes I have very defined single prokaryote, like a single area from where my DNA replication will begin and the complete work will be done. In the eukaryotes, because the genome is very, very elaborate, very, very long and everything, so we have multiple origins of replication from where the replication will begin, and it will accelerate the entire genome duplication altogether. Then we have the replication proceeds bidirectionally from each origin. That means what? That means, let's say this is the area from where my replication is starting off. So from here, in both the direction, because my my DNA polymerase, which is the main replicating enzyme, it can work only in one single direction, right? So as a result of DNA polymerase working in only one single direction, and you know, in the when we look into the structure of the DNA, from one, like one of the strand is 5' to 3' and the other one is 3 to 5, but my DNA polymerase can work only in a single direction. So it will first, or it will be making two different strands. One is called as a lagging strand and one is called as a leading strand, right? So remember about this, that it proceeds bidirectionally, right? DNA polymerase always synthesizes in 5 to 3' direction. So the functionality of my DNA polymerase will always proceed from 5 to 3 only, right? So on the, like, let's say this is your, yeah, this is your DNA, right? The normal parental DNA. So this is the DNA one. The DNA will be having its own polarity, 5 to 3, 3 to 5, right? Now from 5 to 3, now what do we have? This 5 to 3, my DNA polymerase will be working in the 5 to, like, it will be synthesizing in the 5 to 3 direction only. So it will start from here and it will keep on making the strands over here, right? On the other hand, 3 to 5 is here. So my DNA polymerase will start from here, and on a stretch it would start working in. So what can you see? You can see that your DNA polymerase is working in bidirectional segment, right? The replication is occurring in bidirectional segment. On which of the segment you'll have the leading strand synthesis, and on which of them you'll have the lagging strand? This one is the leading strand synthesis, right? On 3 to 5, it reads the template in 3 to 5 directions. So over here it will be working normally, and over here it will not be working normally. It will be making a stretch, stopping, then making a stretch, stopping. It will be making up your Okazaki fragments, and further these Okazaki fragments will be joined with the help of DNA ligase, right? DNA ligase will be helping in joining up and making up the entire Okazaki fragment into one single stretch, right? Now also DNA polymerase cannot start the replication, right? It requires an initial point. It requires some initial nucleotides to be there. So over here we have something called as primers that are added with the help of primase enzyme, right? My primase comes in, adds on some of the primer, some of the DNA nucleotides over here, and as a result of it, then my DNA polymerase can continue the replication, but it cannot initiate the process. So for initiating the same, it required primase enzyme for the primer to be added, and then the work gets completed. And even in examination, this question has also been asked in, like, what was it, you got a strand, and then there were 4 Okazaki fragments that were made, and the question was asking that at which particular place will you get to see the next primase enzyme acting in. So the location where there was no Okazaki fragment, in the beginning of that you could have, like, the primer would be getting added, right? It was like this, A was there, then B, then it gave you C, then over here D, somewhat like this. It was a 2 marker question in the examination. So understanding the concept is very important, and following the concept and understanding the entire trend is very, very important in the examination, right? Then you have, see, the helicase enzyme. So it unwinds the DNA. Now your DNA is intercoiled together, right? Like this, it is intercoiled together. For my DNA replication to occur, I need to unwind it. I need to make sure that my entire strand is properly oriented and visible. So for that matter, my entire uh, strand need to be opened up. So for that, helicase enzyme, to open up the helix, helicase enzyme comes in, joins in, and helps in opening up of the helix. In addition to that, imagine a situation that you have 2 ropes intermingled together in the form of a DNA, and you try to pull apart any of the 2 strands. When you pull apart any of the 2 strands, you'll get to see some kind of tension developing onto the opposite ends. Now this tension is nothing but your supercoiling, right? Your tension is nothing but your supercoiling part. Now for removal of this supercoiling, we have the enzyme called as topoisomerase, right? What do we call it? We call it topoisomerase, which helps in removal of the supercoiling and reducing the tension. Example of topoisomerase is, like, you have 2 classes of topoisomerase 1 and topoisomerase 2. And in this example, like in this, we have various example like DNA guidase and all those things. So make sure you remember all of it. In addition to that, your DNA helix has a property of joining up together, because these two are complementary to each other. So there would be high tendency of them to join back together. So for that matter, to make sure that this unwinding is maintained, we have something called as single stranded binding proteins, right? What do we have? We have the single stranded binding protein that maintains this particular segment, right? So single stranded binding protein, these are the one that stabilize the unwinded DNA, right? In case of your bacteria, it is called as single stranded binding protein. In case of your eukaryotes, you call it RPA enzyme. Okay. Then we have the primase. So primase, it synthesizes the short RNA primers to initiate your entire DNA synthesis. Then DNA polymerase synthesizes the DNA in 5 to 3 direction, reading the template in the 3 to 5 manner. Leading strand is synthesized continuously, as I've already told you, and the lagging strand discontinuously as the Okazaki fragments. They're RNA primed DNA segments that are joined during the lagging strand synthesis. Then you have RNase H, another enzyme. RNase H, it removes the primers, DNA polymerase fills the gap. Now, over here, I have told you that DNA polymerase cannot work alone. It requires some primers, but these primers need to be removed, right? These primers have to be removed after the entire replication is over. So for that matter, I need to remove it off. So for removal of the same, RNase H, another enzyme comes and joins in, comes and like removes the primer, and the DNA polymerase is going to fill up the entire gap, right? Then DNA ligase, it seals the nicks by forming the phosphodiester bond between the ATP or NAD+. So over here, when you have these Okazaki fragments being formed in, these Okazaki fragments need to be joined in together. So for that matter, I have the segment, the DNA ligase helping in. Then I also have sliding clamps. Now this is known as the like, in order to increase the processivity of my DNA polymerase, to make sure that a better approach is being or a better work is being done in. So sliding clamps help. So beta clamp is there in DNA, and pCNA is there in the case of eukaryotes, that increases the processivity of your entire DNA polymerase. Then we have the clamp loaders. So these are the loading clamps. They load the sliding clamps onto the DNA. RFC is there in eukaryotes, and beta gamma complex is there in case of your bacteria or your prokaryotes. Then supercoiling reveals the topoisomerase is going to reveal the supercoiling. The type 1 cuts one strand and type 2 cuts both of the strand. I have just told you about the same. Then we have the origin recognition complexes, ORC, in your eukaryotes. They license the origins with these three segments: CDC6, CDT1, and MCM. This has also been asked in the examination. Remember about this, that which are like, see, in case of your prokaryotes, it is still a simple process, it is still a less complex process. In case of your eukaryotes, it is a very complex process, right? So for that matter, and in addition to being complex, it holds a very, very high importance, because the DNA replication should be very, very accurate. There should be a proper checks and tick marks done before anything getting completed. So not even completed, and even like when the work is getting initiated also, licensing need to be there, that yes, everything is working fine and things can go forward, right? So origin recognition complexes, they license the origins with the CDC6, CDT1, and MCM helicase, right? We have learned about that MCM helicase is one of the most important enzyme which gets synthesized in the G1 phase of your cell cycle and gets in activated in your S phase. Then we have replication fecundity. It relies on the base selection. That means that the accuracy with which the replication is going to happen, the accuracy with which the DNA polymerase is going to work, right? So 3' to 5' exonuclease proofreading and MMR mismatch repair, and all of those things are done in. Followed by that, we have the pre-replication complexes. They form up the G1. Activation occurs in the S phase via your CDKs and DDKs, right? Then we have the DNA polymerase 3, which is the main replicative enzyme, and DNA polymerase gamma and epsilon, that synthesizes the leading and the lagging strand. In case of your DNA, the prokaryotes, you have DNA polymerase 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and in case of your eukaryotes, you have DNA polymerase alpha, beta, epsilon, theta, gamma, all of these things. So both of them have the same role of getting the replication completed, but how and the difference in the name is the only differences, right? Then you have the telomerase that extends the telomeres. What are telomerases? So imagine this is a chromosome, and on the ends of the chromosome you have some protection tips. These are called as telomeres, right? These telomeres, with every cell division, with every cycle of cell division, we have these telomeres getting shortened, right? And with the shortening of these telomeres, you have the age of the cell increasing. And as and when these telomeres get completely used up, you have your cell undergoing programmed cell death and getting discarded from the body. So telomerase are the one which helps in maintaining these telomeres. But even after like maintenance, with every cycle of division, you have very, like, not the entire segment is copied, but a shortened segment is copied thereafter, and as a result, there is a progressive decrease in these sizes, and that's required also, because otherwise the cell would not die and there won't be any replenishment in the body, there won't be any kind of newness, or any new cell is not going to enter in. So for that matter, telomerases extends the telomeres using the RNA template to prevent the end replication loss, right? But with the passage of time, these telomeres size would keep on getting shortened, and as a result of getting shortened, when it gets completely used up, you have your cell undergoing apoptosis, right? Now, this, from this segment we got a question based upon that which of the following initiates, or which of the following inhibits the what was it, aging in cells. So it was somewhere related to the aging in the cells. So we have to remember about the telomeres. If the telomerase enzyme gets activated, it is going to slower down the aging, not completely inhibit it, but it is going to slower down. So the question was very, very simple, and it was based upon the telomerase. So you should be knowing about the functionality of telomerase for you to, like, actually invest your, or apply your knowledge into that particular question. Then we have some repairs, that is in case of your DNA repair, when the DNA replication, after the DNA replication is completed, we have the checks and segments done, that whether or not whatever being done, or whatever is being copied, is it correct or not. So if there's any kind of problem, we have different repairs. For example, the mismatch repair, for example, the base excision repair, for example, the nucleotide excision repair, double stranded break repair. Then even in the homologous recombination segment, they uses the homologous template, which are the key products, and the key proteins include REC-AN, RAD53. Then double stranded breaks, they are repaired by homologous recombination or the non-homologous end joining. Then we have nucleotide excision repair, that removes the bulky abducts, defects causes UV sensitivity disorders. Then we have base excision repair, that uses glycolase, AP endonucleases. Then we have polymerase ligase, etc. In the base mismatch repair, it fixes the replication errors with the help of all of these proteins. These 5 pointers can help you solve factual questions in the examination, right? Segment as well, that is non-homologous end joining, that ligates the broken ends with the help of Ku70 and Ku80. And you also have DNA PKs, error prone, but like most speed effective it is. Then we have the DNA damage sources also, which includes your UV ionizing radiations, ROS, alkylating agents, replication stress, crosslinks, etc. So what are the various sources of the damage? These are the sources. We also have extra chromosomal replicons, including your DNA plasmids, including your plasmids, mitochondrial DNA, chloroplast DNA, and the viral genomes, right? So let's continue. Now let's revise the DNA replication. So we've just like gotten done with the entire segment as well. So you can see you have the helicase enzyme, you have the DNA, you have the single stranded binding proteins. Then we have this blue segment, the longer segments that we have, these are your parental DNAs. Then we have DNA polymerase 3 helping in out. We have a leading strand, we have a lagging strand, we have DNA ligases that joins up the Okazaki fragments. Then you have the overview, like if you look into the smaller image once, see, leading strand is there, lagging strand is there, and if I enlarge this particular portion, you get to see this enlarged segment like this, right? So I hope till here we have already like discussed everything, so I'm expecting that this is clear to each one of you. Now what are the various enzymes, the key proteins and their role? So you have ORC, that recognizes the origins. Then you have MCM, helicase that unwinds the DNA at the fork. Then you have DNA B, which is the bacterial helicase. Then you have primase that synthesizes the RNA primers. Then DNA polymerase 3, polymerase like epsilon and theta. These are the main replicative chromosomes, the main replicating polymerases. Then you have DNA polymerase 1 that remove the primer and help out in the gap filling part. Ligase seals the nick. Then PCNA beta clamp. So these are for the sliding clamp. These are the sliding clamps for your processivity or enhanced processivity, we would say. Then you have RFC, gamma complexes. So these are clamp loaders. Topoisomerase 1 and 2, they remove the torsional stress. Telomers, so these are the one that extends the telomers, right? We've just discussed it. Then we have the major repair pathways. So mismatch, base, nucleotide excision, homologous recombination, and the non-homologous end joining. So mismatch repair is the replication. Its main primary repairing is the replicative errors. And what are the core enzymes? So MUTSLH in case of your bacteria, and H and L in case of your eukaryotes. Base excision repair, so small base excisions, ligands, for example, deamination, oxidation, these are repaired in. Core proteins are DNA glycosylases, APE1, polymerase beta ligases. Then you have nucleotide excision repair. These are the bulky abducts, thymine dimers. In this, the core proteins or the core enzymes are UVR, ABC, XPA, XPG. Then we have your transcription factor 2F, 2H, all of these segments. Then we have homologous recombination. So repairing is done for the collapsed forks or your double-stranded breaks. And for your non-homologous end joining pathway, the double-stranded breaks are repaired in, right? And these are the proteins. Then we have the repair segments. You can just quickly go through it afterwards. See, you have the base mismatch, single stranded break, bulky ligands, and double stranded break. So I've tried to add on as detailed segment for you all so that you can revise it on the last go. And trust me, these 1 minute short, one short revision segments are something that you can utilize 10 days before your examination. Like, we'll be having it for all the units. So starting from unit number 1 till 13, if you take up one chapter, one unit, or one video daily and keep on revising it, it is going to help you like anything, or it is going to help you revise the entire segment like anything before the examination. So make sure that you utilize it very, very effectively, right? Then we have the RNA synthesis and the processing. So till here we were discussing about the DNA repair, DNA replication in prokaryotes, eukaryotes, and everything. Now we have the second segment, which is your RNA synthesis. So